Alright, so, I played a game recently called Delusion. It's a great game. I know it looks horrible, but trust me, it's real good. The screenshots somehow make it look much uglier than it is in game, but... okay, yeah, it's still pretty ugly. What is it about? The world was torn asunder, and humanity was left to survive on the Sky Islands, yet their plight was not over. The crops are withering, the islands are falling apart, and the Inquisition is routinely committing genocide. It is truly a dark time. Yet one woman seeks to change it all. Vela seeks to give bread to the hungry, money to the poor, and power to the people. But a plucky former prisoner, recruited by the Inquisition, is hot on her tail. I guess the easiest way to describe it would be Morrowind. In Nagrand. Fun combination, I gotta say. What did I enjoy? The Clockwork Kingdom. I can rave on and on about so many different things, but nothing stands up to this. It's simply brilliant. But it's very spoilers heavy, so I won't say much. I've also enjoyed exploration. The world is full of vibrant things. For example, like I said, just like Morrowind, there are giant mushrooms. Some are homes to people, others are just food, and some are used in tea. Drug tea. But anyway, the exploration. The thing here is the fact that there are fewer details than something like Skyrim. You aren't gonna be able to move around random pots and pans or put them in your house. By the way, there is player housing. Or encounter tiny details like spinning the claw around to see the password to a door. This game simply doesn't have a budget to do tiny details like that. Yet it's still rewarding to explore. In fact, I'd say more so because there is less clutter. It's satisfying to find something. As players rarely given something entirely useless on their travels. It's generally money, lockpicks, and potions. There is also ammunition, but I only found a bow like 90% through a game, so that one was a bit pointless. But the most important part is the delusions, which act like the experience points in the game. It's this little floating skulls you gotta find. Killing mobs doesn't give any. Exploration amounts for the vast majority of leveling. Quests still reward some, but the world definitely offers so much more. All this makes it a lot more fun to explore when bumping into yet another chest filled with iron armor or some gems. Actually, yeah, another thing is that there is very little equipment. 3 or 4 each for hats, main armor and weapons, and they can be upgraded. Then there are rings and trinkets. And sometimes completely irrelevant areas can reward very useful gear, like a stealth clock or a mechanical lockpick. By the way, lockpicks break a lot, even if they do drop off, and I was down to 0 a bunch of times. Story was nice too. I already mentioned Clockwork Kingdom, but everywhere else was interesting too. It was... actually, maybe story is not a right way to put it. Ideas. I liked the ideas, I liked the creativity. Again, the clockwork was insane, and I will not say more. I adore it so much, but the rest is cool too. For example, the world is populated by godlings, which can grow and become minor gods, which then can get even bigger, and the Inquisition obviously wants to nip it all in the bud. Some of those are actually subjects of some side quests, but there is more, like the Undying, one of whom is a subject of a certain quest. That person apparently is just a hand. Since these people are falling apart but are immortal, it's easy to lose body parts. And it just so happens that the only thing left of them is a hand. I'm trying to be vague here, just as what there's a bunch of examples and I'm avoiding spoilers. Thing is though, that the game isn't flawless. Like for example, there was a quest early on in the village where someone tries to fix the crops not growing by doing something illegal. The player can stop them or allow it to happen. And once it ends, a couple of NPCs say a few lines, but that's it. I kept expecting something to happen, like flora overwhelming the land, or people flocking to a village, or everything being destroyed, or something, anything. It was just so uneventful. But that's the thing, I believe that it would have been difficult to account for all that. Which brings me to another point. The scope. That's the thing which is difficult to point out exactly, but it's a very prominent part of any kind of media. So many games, movies, TV shows, books, and all of them have a problem with the scope. They could start terribly, but eventually become pretty damn good. But by then it could be too late, as the audience have already left. The stories could be amazing early, but then devolve into utter nonsense, which is extremely common. The Red Delusion is not like that. It knows exactly how much it wants to deliver, and works hard to make its vision a reality. And it's doing something definitely praiseworthy. The credits were fairly short, and the biggest number of people were actually the artists. And if you're gonna tell me what the visuals are the main appeal of this game, you'd need a big old slap. I would love to see this team get a bigger budget, larger staff, and the freedom to do what they want. I genuinely believe it's on the level of Larian here. Imagine a game as big as Divinity Original Sin 2 by these people. I'm salivating at the thought. Also, combat is one thing to mention, but it's neither positive nor negative. So it's a first-person melee game, so think Skyrim, only add parry, making it about 100 times more complex already. But it's simply not good. I'm pretty sure it's one of the easiest games to complete without getting hit once. The AI simply sucks. The mobs attack so slowly and have such awkward hitboxes that it's impossible to die unless you're messing up on purpose. But here's the thing, it's not the main draw, just like you don't go into StarCraft expecting a great story. Fire Kerrigan, seriously, what the hell was that? Just like that, you wouldn't go into Dread Delusion expecting some insane feat of technological prowess. The combat to ring throughout the ages and spawn a genre of games. It's not about that. Combat is there, but it's not in the way. And that's just as much as I can ask for. So yeah, it's good, but they still have to mention some negatives. What did I dislike? So, this comes after, but I'll mention it first, because it's a bit more problematic. There is a zone which is a spoiler, but it's obvious. At one point the player is tasked with going down to the planet. Deathwing wishes he could create this kind of cataclysm. Everything is ruined. There are murderous ghosts, murderous robots, and they're all walking around. The player is tasked with finding the special thing. I'm not gonna say what it is. So the problem was that zone simply sucks. Early on there are some hidden paths and unique loot, but quickly it stops and there is just nothing else to find. The path is long-winded and filled with ruins. It looks like there should be a huge amount of things to find, but I simply couldn't find a thing. At one point, after clearing everything, I went through the zone with a truth potion on and hugged every wall, every surface, hoping that there would be more. At one point I even found a jumping puzzle. Going from a short mushroom to a broken wall to a mushroom which is growing on the stem of a taller mushroom, and then back and forth up until the ruined house's second floor. Only to discover it didn't even have a few coins or a lockpick. It simply didn't have a thing. What a disappointment. That whole zone is just so huge, but there's simply so little there. Although it's not exactly on the level of something like Bloodlines sewer level. I swear, that level, it could be used as some sort of measuring pole. Not exactly the worst level in gaming history, but if you are approaching that, then you gotta go back to the drawing board. Delusions isn't on this level, but there's definitely still effort here. It's just nowhere near as detailed as the rest of the game. Okay, so the second problem is the Endless Realm. So it's not as if I hate it, but I think the best way to describe my problem is to give an example, the mines. I believe that for the dev to encourage exploration, they need to make every area unique. Okay, I know it sounds complicated, but it doesn't have to take too much effort. For example, you can place certain doodads in a way which doesn't happen anywhere else. Trees clumped up too much, or a broken down box placed on an odd stone, or a certain way the mountain is shaped. There are a lot of possibilities. Some people need very little and can notice even tiny details. Others, like me, can get lost in a straight line. But whatever the case may be, the game needs to communicate to the player clearly what they are, in fact, moving, by showing different things. Mines do not do that, or at least nowhere near well enough. It's a huge area which is 90% just grey, and the rest is divided between stuff which is difficult to tell apart. I swear, the first 10 minutes it was just me walking in circles. It's a miracle I was able to find anything in that place. But the thing is what the whole area is like that. The capital in that place is huge. It's easy to see it from the Hollow. Yet the way to it is a twisting path surrounded by cliffs. I actually turned the wrong way first and got to the mines before stepping foot into the city. But there was no way to get to it from that side. But the bridges in that place are closed by default. As well. Actually, yeah, no, I don't think any bridges actually lead to that side. So yeah, again, you can turn either left, which is to the mines, or right, to the city. And I turned left, which was a dead end. Anyway, there's a lot of verticality. I must have bumped into that worm perch 5 times before I figured out how to get to one of the mansions. And if I fell, it was really difficult to get back up. Actually, there were barely any elevators too. Other zones were usually littered with them, especially that first village one. Yet barely any in the realms. Honestly, it felt like the game was developed in a certain order. Of course, there's a beginning which could have been made at any point. Then came the village and Hallow, as they are the center and are important. And then came the Clockwork Kingdom. And there went most of the effort. I adored it, it's great, and wish the rest of the game was this good. But then they needed to actually do the Endless Realm and the main story areas, and they simply didn't get as much love and care as the rest of the game. The realm is still okay, but that final area is definitely noticeably lower quality. In the rest of the areas there's just so much stuff to find. Barely any here. I almost felt punished for exploring, as it always felt like I just looped back around. Now, when I think about it, there was that one path I took, which also gave me some special key. And yeah, that never came up again. And there were also just barred doors. I wish they'd fully unlock the console and allow the player to go through the walls just to see everything, but I couldn't find any commands on the internet. So anyway, it's a great game. Even if it does look like a clown vomited all over it. I think if there was some sort of contrast slider, the whole thing would look way, way better. Something about the bright red and vibrant green which makes it look so bloody hideous. If it could just be turned down a bit, the game would already look a lot better. I know it's low fidelity and all, but it doesn't have to mean it's ugly. Games don't have to have terabytes of texture files to look good. There are plenty of good-looking games out there, like Songs of Conquest. It's pixelated, but it's still very nice to look at. Or Between Horizons. It's low polygon, but it's still very appealing. Or Eine Mutation, whatever the hell that is. The game is kinda bad, but visually it's very pleasant to look at, and it's very colorful. So yeah. Delusion. Good game. I recommend it.